Welcome to the Big 12 Insiders, your Big 12 sports show. Here's your host, Brien Hanley.
Hey, everybody, what's going on? This is your man, Big B, Brien Hanley. Welcome to the Big 12 Insiders recap show. Man, it was an exciting weekend. There wasn't a ton of games. There was only 5 games, but there a lot we got figured out this weekend. A lot of questions got answered within the Big 12 this weekend as far as top teams maybe a little bit better than what we anticipated. I said it was kind of a legitimacy type weekend with the games that we had scheduled. And I think we found out a lot, man. We found out a lot, but it was exciting football. We'll break all of that down. Before we do, just as always, remember to follow, like, subscribe, continue to leave all those comments. And hit the notification bell so you know exactly when Big 12 Insiders content comes out. We appreciate you guys, man. We just went over the 2,500 subscriber count for a channel that's just now starting, man. I think we're doing pretty good. And it's only because of you guys, man. Only because of you guys. So I appreciate it. Thank you guys for the support. Let's kind of get into this. Before we start talking about some of the games, the first thing that I want to talk about is parity around college football is evident. You start looking at some of these other conferences, parity is a big, big thing. And I know a lot of people, you know, they talked about the Big 12 not being as good. I was one of those people. I can always take a step back. You guys know me, man. If I'm wrong, I will tell you that I'm wrong. I think I'm wrong. We still have some more weeks to figure this thing out, but the Big 12, I don't think they're as good as the SEC or the Big 10 because of the top tier. But hell, look at the SEC. What's top tier? I mean, what are we talking about? People were talking about Ole Miss being top tier. They're not top tier. They're average, just like we thought they were. I mean, what's top tier anymore in that conference outside of, I don't know. I mean, what are we talking about? Texas? Okay, fine. Well, they're going to play Georgia. We just saw Georgia struggling. Alabama struggling. Look, the Big 12 is super competitive, and I think people got to start giving it credit for being as competitive as it is, man. We just have to start doing that. Again, you all know me. I'll take a step back and say, you know what? Me talking about the Big 12 being mediocre, I can be wrong. And as of right now, I will say that I'm wrong. We still got more weeks to go, but I will say that I'm wrong. It's just competitive. It's ultra competitive, and that's what we want. That's exactly what we want, man. Let's get into what we saw this weekend. Look, we got to start taking Arizona State seriously. We can't just say that, you know, every time they win, well, the other team is bad. And that's going to be a continuing theme on this show. We got to stop doing that. Utah's a good football team, and Arizona State beat them. It was highly competitive. It was a great football game, great atmosphere in Tempe on Friday night. It was on a Friday night. And look, it's just Arizona State beat them, man. They beat them. Cam Rising came back. You thought, oh, well, Cam Rising's back. You know, everything's going to be the same. Unfortunately, again, he gets hurt on the opening series. I'm like, oh, my goodness, what is going on? But he doesn't look the same. He had that glove on his hand throwing the football. He looked like he was shot putting the ball out there. He didn't look like he was healthy at all. And after he got hurt, he had zero mobility. He hurt his ankle. And it didn't look like he could do anything. And I thought maybe they would go to Wilson again. I don't know. I get that Rising is a gamer, but he played bad. Let's just call it what it is. He played bad. 3 interceptions. But Arizona State won the football game. Cam Scatterboo, we got to start talking about him being one of the best running backs in this conference. Those 2 touchdown runs that he had were incredible. Absolutely incredible. Arizona State, everything that they have done this year, we got to give them credit. I mean, to turn it around that quickly after what that program had been just gone through, Herm Edwards did everything in his power to ruin that football program. Everything in his power to ruin it. And for the most part, did. Well, they're back. And it didn't take that long for them to get back. Hats off to everybody involved. I want to say just the coaching staff, but it isn't. It's everybody involved. Everybody's bought in. And I said at the beginning of the year, Arizona State, the fans just needed something to get behind. Well, they got something to get behind, and they are going to be a contender till the very end of this conference. I like what they got. The schedule gets tough. It's still tough, but we'll see. They got as good a shot as anybody right now. Hats off to Arizona State, man. Next game, look, Cincinnati going on the road and winning in a fashion that we didn't think. We thought this game might be a shootout. Well, it was defense laden. They didn't play great on offense. They didn't, but their defense did play great. I mean, they shut down that running attack of UCF. I get it, 198 yards, but they got to run for 300 yards if they're going to be competitive because UCF can't throw the football. They changed quarterbacks. That didn't help. First of all, they fumbled right out of the gate twice. I mean, I don't know. UCF, the wheels are falling off there. Give credit to Cincinnati's defense for causing those turnovers and capitalizing. 19-13 was the final score. They didn't give up a lot of points. They bent a little bit, but they didn't break. And that's the sign of a good defense. You go on the road, especially when your offense is not clicking on all cylinders like Cincinnati's offense. It wasn't clicking on all cylinders. So good sign for them. They get a huge road win. I get it. UCF's not a great team, but anytime you can win a game on the road in this conference, you're doing something. You're doing something. This conference is it's crazy, ultra competitive, like I said. And to be able to go and get this victory, that's good for Cincinnati. I don't know if they're a contender for the Big 12 title. I don't think they are. But getting to a bowl game and be much better than what I anticipated, that is all on the table for UC. And technically, the way this conference is, everything is still on the table for them. So we'll see, man, going down the stretch. But great road win for Cincinnati. Great road win. Look, next up, people keep doubting BYU, and BYU keeps answering the bell. This one, 41-19, just a smackdown of Arizona. Look, I get it. Their stats didn't look spectacular. But when you force that many turnovers and you take advantage of them, number one, that's what a good team is supposed to do. You give them an opportunity, they take advantage of it. But your stats aren't going to look gaudy if you keep turning the other team over and you just keep scoring touchdowns. Well, I don't have to go the length of the field. I mean, it's playing complementary football. The defense forces a turnover, the offense scores. The defense forces another turnover, the offense scores. That's what BYU is doing. I know some people are going to say, well, they're going to run into a team that doesn't turn it over. Well, when? Like, when is that going to happen? Because we haven't seen it. We've seen their defense continuously do this over and over and over again. I get it. One time you can say it's a fluke. Twice, okay. But 3 times, it just keeps happening. At some point, we just have to say their defense is really good. They're playing complementary football. They're turning the other teams over, and then their offense is taking advantage of that. I mean, that's a great recipe to win football games, and that's what BYU is doing. Look, they're not getting the national pub. They're probably not even getting the pub from everybody that covers this conference. Well, at what point are we going to do that? At what point are we just going to say, you know what, BYU's good? On this channel, Big B is going to say that BYU is good. Period. End of story. Until they prove me otherwise, BYU is a good football team. And that's just the way that it has to be. Look, Noah Fafita is a good quarterback. They forced 3 interceptions from him. They harassed him. They did what they needed to do to win this football game. And again, in convincing fashion. Didn't come down to the wire or any, because you could even say 41-19, the game wasn't that close. You could say that if you wanted to, and you wouldn't get an argument out of most sane people. So BYU, another notch in their belt. Good for them. Great win. Again, convincing win. And don't tell me that Arizona's not a good football team, people. Don't do that. Don't disrespect them. Arizona's just fine. They're just fine. BYU's just better than them. It's okay to say that. Just say that. Versus discrediting them, just say BYU's just better than Arizona. Simple as that, man. Iowa State. Look, Iowa State goes on the road and gets a huge win against West Virginia. Again, we're not going to do this dance of, whoa, West Virginia's not very good. West Virginia was running the football and had been looking very, very good offensively over the last few weeks. None of that was true on Saturday against Iowa State. Look, what did they do? They shut down Jaheim White and C.J. Donaldson. What did they have? Yeah, 21 carries. They had 63 yards. I mean, they completely shut them down for what they were trying to do. Garrett Green throws 2 interceptions. He didn't have his best day. All of that is a credit to Iowa State. Look, the old saying is always defense travels. Well, their defense travels, and it absolutely shut down what West Virginia was trying to do. Final score was 28-16. That window dressing touchdown that West Virginia scored at the end of the game, not to mention Iowa State was taking knees at the 4-yard line to end the game. So they keep all of that, in mind when you look at this game and you look at this final score, 21-16. Yeah, no, it wasn't that close. Rocco Bet. We've talked about this a couple of times, especially on Big 12 Insiders Game Day. Has to start getting a little bit more respect. Again, another good day for him. 265 and a score through the air. Look, Jaden Higgins, we all know how good he is. 102 yards receiving on 6 catches. Iowa State got to start getting a little bit more respect. That's an outstanding road victory against West Virginia, because West Virginia is not done winning football games this year, people. They're not. So for Iowa State to be able to go on the road and win that game, that is a huge victory. It's bigger and it's a better win than what people are going to give it credit for. Iowa State's one of the best teams in the country. Period. End of story. Workmanlike. They're not flashy. But they don't have to be flashy. All you have to do is win, and that's what they're doing. They're going and they're winning. And last game of the week, it may have been the best game in the country. It was definitely the best game in the Big 12. But it might have been the best game in the country. All the eyeballs, because Big 12 after dark, Kansas State goes to Boulder and wins this game. It was drama-filled. You had stars there all over the place. But it was a great football game. That's the thing. It was a great football game. Look, Colorado playing without Travis Hunter for most of the game, and Jimmy Horn. They basically played without their top 3 receivers for most of this football game. But I'll also point out that Kansas State also played without 3 of their starting defensive backs for most of this football game. Okay, so don't get me wrong. Travis Hunter is the best player in the country. I've said it several times, and I'm not changing my mind. And you're going to have to prove me wrong, which you're not going to be able to. He's the best player in the country. He just is. And without him, Colorado was still able to go up and down the field. Shedeur Sanders was 34 for 40 for 388 yards. Again, Kansas State's secondary was depleted, but if you had to just watch the game, Kansas State got after. I mean, Shedeur Sanders was completing passes, being broken in half, constant pressure. Now, some of that is his fault. You got to step up in the pocket and throw it away. But K-State harassed him all night long. Look, Colorado is better. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. They are a better football team than what they were a year ago. But they're not going to compete for this conference if you, number one, can't run the football, which they couldn't run it, and not even an inch. They couldn't run the football an inch. And you're not going to win if you can't stop the run. I'm sorry, people. DJ Giddens is the best running back in the Big 12 conference. Just deal with it. I know you don't want to say it. You may not like it. If you watch the game, you know that. He is the best running back in the Big 12 conference, and his name needs to start being on Heisman ballots. A lot of football left. His name needs to start being on Heisman ballots for what he did. 182, 25 carries. Come on, man. He's averaging 7.3 yards a carry. He carried K-State to this football game for basically 3.5 quarters. He carried them to this victory. The man is an outstanding football player. And again, Colorado can't stop the run. They can't protect their quarterback. And Kansas State didn't blitz a ton. They were in the first half. In the second half, they just decided, you know what, we're going to rush 3 or 4, and we're going to get pressure, and they did. That was the difference in this football game. They couldn't stop the run, and they couldn't run it, and they couldn't protect the quarterback. But they got the lead. It was an exciting game, and they got the lead. They're down 10 in the fourth quarter, came back, had the lead with 3:14 to go. A minute later, Kansas State had the lead. Avery Johnson throws a 50-yard touchdown pass. Jace Brown. Colorado had sold out because they couldn't stop the run. So they basically had put 8 to 9 guys within 5 yards of the football. They said, okay, enough's enough. That's the only way we can stop it. Well, Kansas State decided we're going to throw the football. We're just going to throw it over your head. and we think our guy's better than yours. He was, and that's the game. You know, I know people are talking about controversy at the end. It was pass interference call. No, the ball was out of bounds. Come on, stop it. Either way, it was an outstanding football game. And I will say this, Colorado is better. You can't, I mean, people that are going to say, and they want to hate on them and all this kind of stuff, Colorado is just a better football team than what they were last year. They just are. Does that mean that they're going to win 8-9 games in this conference? Probably not, because if you're not going to be able to stop the run, people are going to look at this tape and just say, oh, well, they can't stop the run. And if the only way that they can, they have to put so many people in the box, well, we'll just throw it over their head. I don't know. At some point, they got to try to do something else, but we'll see. We will see. But it was an exciting football game. Good job for Kansas State again. You had the lead for most of the game. You gave it up, and then you answered the bell, answering some adversity, which you hadn't done on the road all year. I guess Tulane, but Tulane's not good. Come on, let's be honest. But Kansas State, good comeback victory. And again, one of the best games in the Big 12. Not just the Big 12. One of the best games in the country this past week. Let's just not kid ourselves. So, great football game. Having said all that, it's exciting. Big 12 is exciting football, man. Like I said, a lot got decided. There's going to be some teams that drop down in the power rankings when we come out with those tomorrow. There's going to be some teams that move up. But it was a good football weekend. Like I said, a legitimacy weekend for teams winning and proving that they're as good as what maybe people thought they were, or better than what people thought they were. And then there's some other teams that, you know what, maybe not as good as what we thought. And then here we are. Arizona, I think, falls into that category. Still a good team, but I think myself may have been giving them a little bit more credit than what they were. And BYU is just way better than they are. Way better. So thank you guys again for tuning in, man. I appreciate all the love that you guys showed me. I was at the Colorado-Kansas State game this weekend. A bunch of you guys came up to me and just said hi. I appreciate that, man. I am not, like I said, this is a channel from a fan, a former player, and a fan built for fans. So I appreciate you guys, man. Thank you. And remember, like, follow, subscribe, continue to leave all those comments, man, and hit the notification bell so you know exactly when Big 12 Insiders content comes out. We appreciate you guys. Make sure you check out tomorrow our power rankings. I will see you then.
Thank you for watching the Big 12 Insiders, your Big 12 sports show. This has been a Spirit Street production.